morning, good afternoon, good evening, however you're watching, wherever you're watching, however you're listening, wherever you listen. It's the Bet Online Salute Detroit podcast. And today we have a special guest. The guy who is a part of the foundation of the national championship runs. One of the guys who was there when Coach Carroll first got there and they played tug of war in the middle of the Coliseum. If I tell him Boston, Frisco, LA, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. We got Lofa Tatupu. Lofa, how are you doing?
Great, brother. Over 3, under 4, and cover 2 is what those,
there you go.
Words are.
There it is. Frisco. We lived in Frisco. Started in Frisco and everything is, Frisco, everything takes care of itself. That's exactly how it goes. We also got the tripod here today. We wasn't with us last week, so we got to check in on them. Ryan Dyrud, how are you doing today, Ryan?
Doing great. What's up, fellas? Good to be here. Lofa, good as always to see you. So thanks for jumping on with us and excited to get in it. But, Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. And we can't forget the madman himself, the mad scientist, Jamal Magdy. Jamal, how are you doing?
Doing well, Coach. Great to see you guys. And again, Lofa, greatly appreciate the time and the wisdom here. So excited to have a chat.
So we're going to jump straight into it. Lofa, I'm going to go ahead and ask you this question first. First of all, I want to say thank you. I played at USC from 2006 to 2008. I've heard so many stories from you guys who played with you in those Orange Bowls. Keith, I played with Keith, Oscar, Ray. I don't know if Ray was there when you were there. Pretty much all the linebackers raved about you. Lofa's a great guy. Lofa's this, but you were on that core group that set the foundation for everything we had. And I met you once in Bellevue in a lobby when you was with Seattle. I don't know if you remember it or not, but all those guys were around you. They were happy to see you, man. I heard nothing but good things about you. So the first thing I want to do is start off for saying thank you for setting the foundation when I was at USC and starting that championship run and setting the standard. And I really appreciate you for that. I never got a chance to tell you that or any of you guys. I told Lindale once, I don't know if he remembers, but you guys were the guys who set it all up for us, and I appreciate you for that.
Oh, man. No, it was our honor and our pleasure. And, it's funny. I never won a title in high school and in anything. Been to the playoffs, right? But never won a title until I got to SC. So I'd like to take credit for it, but I think I just hit the right place at the right time. And I was lucky to be a part of, just a historic run.
Ryan and Jamal, you guys can go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Jamal. Please. No, please. No, go.
Lofa, always good to see you, man. But, just looking at kind of this team going into this season, we don't have to backtrack too much, but I'm just curious, going to the Big Ten, you played when you were there, Pac-10 football and all the historic rivalries at the Pac-10 and now, still get UCLA. There's still going to be Oregon and Washington, but, losing Stanford, losing Cal, some of the other ones. So, new rivalries just announced today. The Michigan game will be a 12:30 kickoff on CBS and stuff like that. So some fun stuff in the big house, but just we haven't really talked to you. What's your thoughts on SC moving to the Big Ten?
Yeah. At first the traditionalist in me that wanted to see the matchups we've come to know and love was kind of upset, right? The old man in me, I guess you could say, but you understand it's about money. And I have a feeling that all these conferences are going to realign in another 2 or 3 years. It's just because of logistics. It's just making for a mess for all the other sports. So it'll be fine. I'm just glad it's expanding to 12 teams. If you're, the 13th team with 2 or 3 losses, man, just, shut up. Like you shouldn't have lost that many fucking games because I always felt like 8. Okay. Once you get past like the 5th team or 6th team, because there might be 1 or 2 that have 1 loss, a key or quality loss, if that's even possible to say, in the SEC or somewhere very competitive, then yeah, I understand them being on the outside looking in like, hey, we should have a seat at the table. So expanding to this many, it's going to be exciting. A lot of matchups. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, Lofa. I mean, so well said. And obviously you were at a time in SC, the peak of the modern era where there was no margin for error. And obviously part of that run that ultimately won 34 straight games. Lofa, you talked a little bit about kind of the playoff situation. The other big change since you've worn the Cardinal and gold now is NIL and all the money and the finances. And everything that sort of goes into that. What's your kind of just broad take on NIL and kind of the positives, maybe some of the challenges, and how do you kind of see all of this playing out? Some people say, hey, it's not really sustainable. Others are saying, hey, this is what it's going to be moving forward. Just what are your overall impressions and takes on NIL moving forward?
It's not sustainable. It's the Wild West, but I am happy for the kids. I know if it was around when I was playing, I would have stayed for my senior year. I left as a junior, right? And so, it's the positives is, these kids getting a chance early with money. Not all of them are going to go to the league. I think it's like 1% actually, go on to the National Football League. It's a very small number. And then the negatives, I don't think some complacency could set in terms of them on their journey and how promising, they're getting paid because they've earned it in high school or even in their first or second year of college. But, you just want them to stay hungry. And I think they will. And over time, I think people or kids will see like, okay, how to handle it. I thought Caleb did a phenomenal job to produce. He's been the face of our franchise, if you want to call it, because it's not college sports anymore. Since the time he walked on campus and won the Heisman, came back, probably only had one rough game. I wouldn't even call it bad. Still had a ton of stats. Talking about the Notre Dame game, but every other game, he's what gave us a fighting chance. And I hope, maybe he can be a mentor to some of these kids, not just at SC, but kind of how to deal with all of it, because that's a lot at a young age to deal with.
Lofa, so my first question is, as a joke, what would your price be back in that day? Because Ryan asked me what my price would be. I said 75. I said 75,000. What would your price be?
What's wild? If they would have given me, so I'm just going to take you into my mindset because I still remember it. I was living off campus. Stipend check was $990, right, or $950. My rent every month was $1,000, so I was already in the hole $50 every month. Like it was tough. I mean, it's brutal. I literally would have stayed if they offered me like $4,000 or $5,000 a month. I would have been like, yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, I always say that too, Ryan. Just pay for my rent. I'll take $25,000 a month, because it was so. I mean, because they still get everything else. They still get their scholarship and everything. So I guess my price is high because we were getting $1,400 on our off campus check. So it went up a little bit from when you were there.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Yeah, like. It went up that much, yeah. So, like, if you stayed on campus, my freshman year, we got like $400 because we stayed in Cardinal. Yeah. And then when we moved off, it went to like $1,400. I guess enough people complain or like inflation got it. But I was just saying that because my question to you is this, and I think about this a lot too, and I was thinking about this driving home today. Do you think, and you mentioned complacency, but do you think that lack of stress of where am I going to eat after we eat at the Galen Center at 8:00 at night, and all this other stresses you no longer have to worry about, stealing toilet paper from classroom play, like from out of places, like we've been there. Do you think losing that stress makes you a better college football player?
Absolutely. I mean, on the one hand, we literally were going to bed hungry.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to fight a little harder when you're going through that. But on the other hand, and they've got a lot of help, and from what I understand, I'm not down there and, know everything, but in terms of how to look at deals, how to structure them, like they're really becoming young entrepreneurs and business people. And then the branding aspect, which is going to go much farther after ball, right? Regardless of how well they do in ball. If they do it right now in college, they'll be fine after ball. And that's the biggest part, right? So I think just getting a jump start on that, those kind of things is big. Getting their own brand bigger, because we weren't allowed to have a brand, and not even just because social media wasn't big, but it was more of a, hey, no one's bigger than the team. Like,
right.
Right. If we were to have social media, you wouldn't see us posting during the season. Like that's the mindset it was that we came up under, and times have changed, and so. I'm not going to say it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm happy for these kids, man. I'm happy for them.
Yeah. So two quick ones, and then I'll go to Jamal. But since we're in NIL, two on this. So one, and you kind of mentioned it, Loaf, already, but with the branding, like I see it as twofold, right? One, it's a way that can be detrimental because you have someone like Caleb Williams making $2 million, all these brands, other students not. But at the other fold, it's really preparing you for the league, right? Because you get to the NFL, there's not this shock factor because you've had this kind of grooming for it. So what's kind of do you think it's more detrimental in that, or do you think it's more of a better grooming, kind of what college is about, setting you up for the future anyway?
Definitely positive, So it's not the first time they're sitting down with a sponsor and the contract looks like a different language because they've never heard these terms and they've never understood, never had to see it. And so, just getting familiar with it and seeing it a second time, and then, knowing what a good deal and what one isn't. I think they're going to have some sponsorships that did not work out and they'll be able to learn from that and have knowledge going forward. So I only see it as a positive for these kids.
Yeah. And okay. And then my second part, when you moved here to LA, and it's, it's a few years ago, I know, what would have been the one brand you would have wanted most to be partnered with?
Oh, good question.
The one LA brand you're like, man, that'd be cool.
That's a great question. What brand? I mean, I'm trying to really go back and think about what probably I needed and loved the most. It probably would have been a beer sponsor, which probably isn't legal in college, but happy to say I do have a beer named after me now, 51 Savage. So that's cool. But I can't, that's a great question right there when you're talking about these kids. Like, okay, which brands do you want to align with? Now, obviously, clothes, food, like the necessities. Yeah. But I don't even think I owned a pair of pants so it would have been like Nike and gym shorts or something like that. Like just something like, clothes to wear. Like that's
so you were basically forced to come to USC because you couldn't go to anywhere cold weather because you had no pants. It was a shorts only decision.
I came from Maine.
Well, he started in Maine. I was about to say, he started in Maine.
Yeah, I left all my pants on the East Coast because it was like 60 and sunny. And I don't know how people wear sweats. Like there was like some of my guys, they were wearing sweats and like boots. And I was like, dude, I'm sweating just looking at you. Like, why are you wearing that right now? But they grew up, they were, accustomed to the warm weather. And so if it was like 50, that was chilly. And I was like, dude, I'm still sweating in class right now.
That's amazing. Yeah. Lofa, there's probably many answers here, but what was sort of that special ingredient, that secret sauce that made that team at that time so dominant in your mind, having been in it firsthand, in the trenches? And what would you maybe want to see just from afar at kind of a macro level, where the team is now, where the program is now? What do you think is maybe an ingredient or two that perhaps they can add that maybe is those final missing ingredients to kind of get back to that place?
We just had fucking dogs, man. Like straight up. I'm not even lying, man. Just guys that love football, love competing, and love the aspect of being part of something bigger than themselves, part of a team. And I think that can get lost these days, kind of in line with that branding yourself and NIL. It's tough. It's a fine line to walk. So these coaches don't have it easy. And that's where I was going to go next, coaching. We had a bunch of NFL, coaches, and then guys that would go on to be head coaches and do great things. Sark was in the Natty last year or the semifinals. Ed O has arguably the greatest team that ever played with that LSU team, and how they were beating people. And I think the style of player they were going after was just a hungry, savage, man. Like there was, when we lined up, if you lined up us up against like that Oklahoma team and you were just to like say who's going to win, everyone would have picked Oklahoma. Just looking at them. They were monsters. There were so many great players over there. Adrian Peterson, they had, Hall of Famers. We just had a great team and we understood our role. Everyone thrived in their role, and no one was bigger than the team. Even though I went to school with 3 Heismans, Carson, Leinart, Reggie. Not one of them ever acted like they were better than any of us. And they were three of our hardest workers too. So when the guy that's named the best player in the nation is also one of your hardest workers, your team has no choice but to be good.
That's amazing.
Lofa, you remember rule number 1? Now that you just said that.
I remember all three rules.
Rules, yeah. Rule number 1. Hey, so because you said nobody's bigger than the team, always protect the team. There you go. You said that, and I just wanted to piggyback on what you said. You said that we just had dogs. The coaching staff was dogs too. When you really think about it, like every single one of the coaches, and I didn't have Norm Chow, but I had Sark. I didn't have Coach O, but I had. You had Coach Holt though, right? Coach Holt was there when you were there.
Nick Holt, Kennedy Pola, Coach Davis, Uparesa. Bro, it was, and they set the tone. I'm gonna let you finish your question, but I mean, yeah, dude, there was no bullshit going on. Like,
yeah. So, like, when you think of the 3 rules, right? Those are the only 3 rules we have. Always protect the team. No whining, no complaining, no excuses. Always be early. And then there was another thing that, like, we always got in trouble for, and people don't know, was the white shoestrings and the white socks. The white shoestrings and the white socks are now gone. And I complain about it all the time on this podcast. I don't know if it's the old man in me, but I always say, like, those small things matter as being a USC football player. Do you agree with that, or am I just being old? I need to let the white shoestrings and the white socks go.
You know, we could partly be, hey, we could bring them back when we get back to where we were. How about that? That'll make you happy.
There we go.
You know, I never really, cared about the uniform. I will never want names on our backs. That is something I hope doesn't change. But it could be coming, man. I'm telling you, a new day and age. I understand what you're saying. I thought it looked weird when I first put them on. I understood the significance. My dad went to school there. I understood, but it did grow on me, and I don't know. I wasn't too torn up about it. And so, we'll see what happens. We're probably getting new jerseys and unis anyways. Now we're moving into the Big Ten. It's going to say Big Ten on our shoulders.
Yeah.
Gross.
But we didn't have the patch though when we played either. They didn't start putting the patch on the jersey until they went to the Pac-12. Like when we was there, it was just the jersey.
Yeah,
the only time we got a patch was when we played in a bowl game, or so. Like the patches are kind of relatively new too.
Are we still Nike?
Yeah, we're always going to be Nike.
Okay, because we were Nike, so they and I had Nike when I was in the pro. They don't want too much anything else on your jersey.
Yeah,
they don't have to have it.
I got you. No, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I always bring that up. Like, and you were there with Coach Carlisle. Like the little things matter, and I harp on that all the time. And Ryan and Jamal always think that I'm crazy about it, but it's like those little things matter about being a Trojan. And I think that like that's one of the little things we need to bring back to like understand the significance like of being a Trojan.
You got me there, man, when you said, you're pointing to the details, right?
Yeah.
And nobody was more strict than our lifting staff and finish through the fucking line.
Yep.
Not at the line. I mean, you find that out day one, and you learn day one because you stay running until everyone understands. Through the line means like 3 or 4 yards past the line.
Yep.
Like
not at the line, not before the line, but through the line.
If a muscle pulls up, if your back leg finishing through the line loosens up or releases, call him back, do it again. And I mean, but that enforces, mental toughness, accountability, all the things that, matter in terms of when the game's on the line, the details, and then no one outworked us. That, at halftime, we would see everybody would give us their best shot because we were the number 1 team in the nation, right? And at halftime, we would make adjustments. But really what we were doing, we were just getting started because we were built to go for like a game and a half with how hard we worked. And we would see them. We would always run back into the tunnel, one of the details, right?
Yep.
Run your ass. That's a long-ass run, but everybody's running. And we run back out. And it's a mental warfare to show the other team, I don't care how close the game is. You might even be leading right now, but we're ready to like hit our stride. And you guys are, they're spent. They were out of gas at halftime because they were overexcited for the game. And for us, it was just another game.
Yep. Go ahead, Ryan.
So obviously we know it was missing last year with this team, everything you just talked about. And, schematically is a whole nother issue with the defense, but I think that was the clear issue. When you look, you don't have to get granular, but when you look at this new staff and we kind of offline talking about Coach Entz, like Coach Entz is a true football coach. I mean, he brings that kind of tenacity that like a Coach O brought. Like I've been at spring practice, and you can just hear him yelling the entire time. And after interviews, he has like no voice. So just from a macro level, kind of Jamal alluded to it too, but what do you think? Where do you think this team is heading? Do you like the trajectory of the team as a whole, defense specifically, but the team as a whole? Do you like the trajectory? What do you want to see? What do you think needs to change? Or is it more of just on the line of what you kind of were just talking about with the kind of culture and finishing things?
Yeah. Love Entz coming over from North Dakota State, highly decorated head coach over there. And then Lynn, huge, he's coming over from UCLA, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
They beat the dog shit out of us last year. If you turn that film on, I'm telling you, and that was what made it so hard to stomach was like, not them, and it was the same in Notre Dame. It was like, just not them, anybody else, not them. And so I'm expecting to see that and what they put on the field, at their respective, colleges before here. And so what it comes down to, it was just like, yards after contact, like the little things, the details, proper leverage in your pursuit angle, near foot, near shoulder, striking, running through the target. These are fundamental. This is day one stuff. And, that's what was so tough to watch last year. And so I hope that's what, if they get we've always had athletes. We've always had them. And we always will. But, to get back to where we're used to seeing the standard is just doing the fundamentals extremely well.
Yeah. Go ahead, Al. Wrap us up.
You want to take us home? So my question is, and your backstory, you started, like you said, you started at the University of Maine. And I'm not against this, and I'm talking the transfer portal. You started at the University of Maine. You end up coming to USC, playing your ass off. How do you feel about the transfer portal? And before you answer, so my thing about the transfer portal, and the best example I give you is Matt Castle, right? If we have the transfer portal, when you were there and Matt Castle was there, he enters the portal, goes somewhere else, becomes a starter, maybe ups his draft position, right? Because he was lost in the wash. It is what it is. He was holding kicks, backup quarterback, but he was a damn good quarterback. Not taking anything away from Matt Castle. He just wasn't better than Carson and Matt. How do you feel? Like, I feel the transfer portal works for people like that, or like gives an opportunity, like you end up being a starter and becoming an NFL linebacker, things like that. What are your thoughts about the transfer portal?
If you're using it, it's tough to say. Like, I used it because I did not believe I could make the NFL from University of Maine. Some of my boys did, but they were more athletically gifted than I was. I mean, they put it on tape at Maine, and then they blew up the combine or the workouts, like ran ridiculous times. My combine fucking probably dropped me in draft status. So I had to prove it amongst the elite, right? The best talent. I think it's a kid's personal journey. There's so many instances back and forth of positive and, unfortunate, a kid like on his fourth team in 4 years and, doesn't make the NFL. But then, like there's something to be said about like Matt Castle sticking it out. And I'm going to tell you a story about Matt Castle. So he also played baseball, but when he wasn't going to start because Leinart had started, right, his last year, the Orange Bowl year, he went up to Pete and he said, "Hey, we're going to win the national title this year. I'm not just going to be sitting on the fucking sideline. Like, give me a different pair of shoulder pads, put me at tight end anywhere." So we put him at tight end for like a week or two. And he fucking hung tough, right? He was in there in the trenches. And then the next week, where was it? ASU maybe? I think Leinart went down. So Castle, they're like, "Hey, Castle, you're going back to quarterback." And so, but he went back to quarterback for the rest of the year just in case Leinart got hurt. But yeah, he sat behind 2 Heisman Trophy winners. Who's to say he wasn't a Heisman Trophy winner if he got the chance? But there's something to be said about how he gutted it out. That when he did get his opportunity in the NFL, and he got to sit behind Tom Brady, learn a lot of knowledge, right, and then got his chance, and took them to an 11-5 record. And they missed the playoff by a tiebreaker, but it was still insane. And then he went to Kansas City, made the Pro Bowl. So there's something you said about Joe Burrow sitting behind 3 first-round picks and then graduating, but Joe stuck it out for 3 years. He's like, you know what? No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not shying. I'm not ducking any competition. So if a kid, I think he has to be real with himself. If he's running from competition, you're in trouble because there's competition everywhere. And even if you do play somewhere and play well, you can't do it when you get to the league. Your ass is theirs, man. So these kids requesting trades, that might happen one time. And then that gets around the league and nobody wants you at that point. Don't matter how talented you are. They're just like, oh, he's just not a team guy. And so it's a double-edged sword, but if you're doing it to better your situation and better yourself, like go up and play tougher competition. That's why I'm excited about a lot of these. You're seeing Division I poach 1AA All-Americans and so on and so forth, the waterfall effect. The only unfortunate aspect I see is less and less high school kids are getting recruited and offers. But I'm all for it, and we just got to figure it out. Like maybe there's a limit to how many times you can transfer, like twice, and then like, all right, you transfer twice, you're stuck at that third place, right? I don't know.
So what I hear you saying is you're a big Miller Moss fan then.
Damn right.
It out. Yeah.
He gutted it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Now he's the guy.
Yeah. And his first start, what did he do? It was like tied the record.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there was a couple guys sitting out of that game too, right? He didn't have all his weapons or all the weapons that Caleb always had,
Right.
Yeah, no Rice. Yep.
A lot of
them. Right? So, who's that one guy? The little dude.
Tahj Washington?
No. Is it Lemon?
Oh my God.
Makai Lemon.
Where the hell did he come from? Where the hell can we get him the ball?
He's a freshman. He was a true freshman, and he got caught. The receiver room was pretty good. So this is what happened with Makai. The corners started getting hurt. They moved him to corner, and he was playing corner. He started at corner as a true freshman, not ever playing corner before, so he got a lot of reps at corner.
I mean, I think he only had 4 catches, but had close to 100 yards, and he made a couple adjustments to footballs that, like, a lot of guys don't make. Like, it would look like an NFL receiver. Like,
say that again for the crowd. Makai Lemon.
Head whip this way, the ball's thrown behind him. He turns around, 360, catches it, and just 30 yards. 3 first downs. Is that good?
Shandy's all fall. Miller, Moss, beer and lemonade. Shandy's all fall, Moss to lemon. You guys heard it here. Another fellow Trojan in the trenches who recognizes talent. Makai Lemon is the guy. There you go.
That was special. I mean, and then do we still got who's the freshman last year? The other one, the really explosive one.
Zachariah Branch.
Yeah, Branch is still there.
I got to say, though, Lofa, if you're calling Maikel Lemon the little guy, I don't even want to know what you call me behind my back. Like.
Well, he just looks so fast. I can't tell how tall or big these guys are, but no one could catch him. That's a good thing. But then Branch, man, I mean, you got to use him like the cheetah or, just sweeps, screens. I mean, that guy's ridiculous in the open field.
You know who they're comparing Branch to, right?
Who's that?
Number 5.
Yeah, I could see it.
I mean, that first comparison right now.
That first kickoff he took. The only thing I'll say, Reggie made his moves earlier. Like he would change your angle within 10 yards. He changed it 2 or 3 times on you because he always used pace and tempo, right? And this Branch just fucking hits the throttle. He's just like, I'm going.
Yeah.
So for him to cut full speed like he does is insane. But Reggie would be jogging, right? And to you as a defender, because of how much ground he's gaining, it looks like it's full speed. So you have to pick up, right? And then he would hit the gas. So now you're going faster, and then he would just stop on a dime and redirect. And it was just like, that was like 3 moves in one. Like, so it was, and then his just perspective or field vision was, he knew who, like, it was almost like the Matrix. Okay, that guy's coming. I'm going to set him up, jab step, spin move off that guy, and then I'm going to outrun that guy. it was like
Video game.
Like, yeah, it was literally that slow for him.
That's crazy. Video game. Well, unless you guys have anything else, I'll get you out of here on this. Week 1, Vegas. If you're there, you better hit me up. But against LSU, Labor Day. What do you think? You think SC starts off 1-0? How do you like our chances?
I mean, we don't know anything about either team yet, and you don't find out until, the live bullets come, Yeah. So I'm not going to sit up here and just, I'm definitely rooting for the Trojans, and I believe we will win, but I couldn't tell you. I don't know what their strengths and weaknesses are yet. I haven't seen any of their spring practices. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be live. I hope to be there. I think Frosty has some going down there. So yeah, if I am going, I'll hit you up.
Good.
You're definitely going?
Yeah, I think we're all trying to get out there. So
are you?
I'm going. So I'll be out there. Yeah.
We're all making it happen.
Jamal's not going. Jamal
I got a baby on the way, Lofa. So that might be tough. But I got a very understanding wife, so you never know. I might end up traveling more than these guys in the fall. We'll see.
No, that's too close. That's too close.
Is it the first baby?
First baby.
Right on, man. Right on. Congrats. If it was the second, I was going to say,
we're really excited.
You seen
we're
one,
fired
you seen
up.
them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably will. I mean, this guy's wife lets him go wherever he wants. So I was telling me the other day, I'm like, you travel more than me when I was single. It's wild. So, well, sign us off here, Coach.
Yeah, Lofa, I appreciate you. It's fun to have you on, man. We've been trying to get your boy Frosty on, but he's been flaking on us. So we put some fire on him.
Frosty Flakes?
Yeah, tell Frosty to get on here, man. Put some fire on him. No, I appreciate you, Lofa. Thank you again, man. Like I said, being on the USC football team and understanding everything that I heard about you, it racks up to it, man. You're a great guy. I appreciate you again for setting the foundation for everything that I had to do. You guys were the ones that set it from everything that Coach Carroll's vision you guys put it in place, and we follow right behind it. I thank you for being on the show. I appreciate you. Jamal, Ryan, we got another one in the books. You guys know how it is. It's the Bet Online Salute Detroit podcast. Live free, fight on.